In this video, I'm going to do Krugman and Wells Microeconomics, page 127, number 7a. So in 7a, we have a character by the name of Ari who likes to eat pasta. And here we see in the table his willingness to pay for pasta per serving and the quantity of pasta in terms of servings that he orders at that price. So, this is a little different than what we've seen, because what we've seen so far is a demand schedule for a good and many different consumers, or maybe 5 or 6 who are demanding a good. Sometimes they are demanding 1 per person. Sometimes, two consumers would be willing to pay a certain price. So we saw that sort of addition to our analysis. And then now we're going to consider the case where there's 1 person and they're the only ones who are demanding different quantities of a good. Now let me explain how this table works, because at first it may seem somewhat counterintuitive that Ari is willing to pay $10 for 1 serving of pasta and then less for more. So he's willing to pay $10 for 1 serving, but then $8 for 2. And he's willing to pay nothing for 6 servings of pasta. That does not sound right. Well, the reason is because we need to think about Ari's demand in increments. So we need to consider that the way that this table works is that, Ari goes to, say, a food court. He orders 1 bowl of pasta. Now, his first bowl of pasta, when he orders it, he's pretty hungry. So he's actually willing to pay $10, which is more than he otherwise would be willing to pay, because he's really hungry. So then we say, okay, Ari has eaten 1 bowl of pasta, and let's say, now he's thinking about what he would be willing to pay for a second bowl. He's still hungry. Well, now he's not, he's not in such a desperate condition. He's not as hungry as he was before. And so he wants another bowl, but he's willing to pay less for it. So now instead of paying 10, he wants to pay 8. And then, to continue the example, let's say that he wants 3 servings, and now he's had 2 bowls of pasta in him, so he wants even less, so he's willing to pay even less. And the example continues until, we get to the point where Ari has had 5 bowls of pasta, and he feels completely full. And so his 6th bowl of pasta, he's actually not even willing to pay for at all. So now, let's imagine that you are a seller, and you have 4 bowls of pasta to sell, and you want to know what price you need to set these servings. So you have 4 servings to serve, and you want to know what price you have to set these servings so that you can get rid of them all. What's the price you have to price these servings at to get Ari to buy all 4 of them? A different way of asking this is the way that the problem words it. It says, if the price, this is the flip side of the same question. In other words, if the price was $4, then how many servings will Ari buy? Well, that's pretty straightforward looking at the table. And I've circled it. If Ari, at $4 per serving, Ari is willing to, is getting or buying 4 servings. And so now the question becomes, the answer to the first part of part A is 4. Not $4, but 4 servings. He would buy 4 servings if each one was priced at $4 per serving. Okay, and now the second part says, how much consumer surplus does he receive? Now it's important to consider the initial way that I posed the question, that you are a seller and you have made 4 servings of pasta, and you don't want to take any home with you. And this character Ari, and you know that he likes to eat pasta, and so you want him to buy all of your pasta. And so you wonder to yourself, what do I have to price these 4 servings to get Ari to buy them? And let's say you somehow have access to Ari's willingness to pay, and you see that, okay, well, if I price each bowl at $4 per serving, then he's definitely going to buy all 4. So now we have to consider, so now let's just say servings, and let's say willingness to pay, and actually paid. Okay, so let's say you have 4, and you know that in order to get Ari to buy all 4, you have to price each serving at $4. Because if you price it any higher, then Ari is not going to buy all 4, and you are going to be taking pasta home with you. So you are going to actually have him pay $4, but his willingness to pay for some of the servings would have been higher. So at first, you know, he would have been willing to pay you $10 for the first one, but if you had priced your servings at $10, then he would not have bought all 4. In fact, he would not have bought more than 1 bowl of pasta. So the second bowl, Ari was willing to pay $8. The third bowl, he was willing to pay $6. And then the fourth, he was willing to pay $4. And now we can go ahead and think about consumer surplus as we have. And so I'm going to just subtract willingness to pay from what Ari actually paid. So let me just come over here and just formally write out that the consumer surplus, and one way to remember something is to just keep writing it over and over and over again. So as willingness to pay minus actually paid. And I also want to highlight one thing I forgot to, which is that the assumption that this rests on, the crucial assumption, is that Ari went to the food court with enough money to be able to pay for what he wanted. So ability to pay on Ari's part is the assumption we need to make in order to be able to say that what Ari actually pays is reflective of his willingness to pay. And so that's what allows us to kind of come to this portion of the calculation of willingness to pay. So consumer surplus is willingness to pay, which in the first serving was $10 minus 4, so we have 6. 8 minus 4 is 4, 6 minus 4 is 2, and 4 minus 4 is 0. And so we see that we have a total consumer surplus for Ari of $12. He got 4 bowls of pasta, or servings of pasta, at $4 a bowl. And he would, the price that he paid, he would have been willing to pay $12 more for that amount. Now this is calculating Ari's consumer surplus algebraically, but we can also do it graphically. So I'll do that now. Okay, so I've set up my axes here with quantity of bowls of servings of pasta on the horizontal and price on the vertical axis. And so now I'll go ahead and think about my the bars that are going to represent the information in my table. So for 1 bowl of pasta, Ari was willing to pay $10. Okay. And then for 2 bowls of pasta, Ari was willing to pay $8. So I just went ahead and drew the rest of those bars, and I tried to make a thickened line here from 5 to 6 to show that, after 5 bowls of pasta, he is not willing to pay anything for any more bowls. He is completely full. So now let's consider that the price of a serving of pasta, our person behind the counter with 4 servings of pasta wanting to sell them all said, okay, well, I know Ari, I know him and what he'll pay for pasta, so I'm just going to price it so that he'll buy all 4, and so that the price is $4 per serving of pasta. Then we can show Ari's surplus by calculating the area of the shaded portion of these bars. So it's the portion of Ari's demand that is above the market price of pasta. And so if I go ahead and do that, if I go go ahead and do that. I have that this distance here is 1. This distance here is 6. So this is 6. Then this is, again, 1 more bowl of pasta. This distance here is 4. And then again, 1 more bowl of pasta. And then this height here is 2. And so 6 plus 4 plus 2 gives me $12 of consumer surplus. Okay, so in part B, it says that, Ari shows back up at this restaurant and finds that, the servings of pasta has increased to $6 a serving. And so we want to know what his consumer surplus is now and compare it to the consumer surplus that he had when the price was lower. And what I would expect is that the consumer surplus is going to decrease because the gap between what he was willing to pay and what he actually paid has decreased. So for the first serving, we know that he would be willing to pay $10, but now he's actually going to pay $6. And so our consumer surplus is going to be 4, 10 minus 6. Then for the second serving, he would have been willing to pay $8, but paid 6, and so the surplus is 2. He would have been willing to pay $2 more. For the third serving of pasta, he was willing to pay $6, and that is in fact what he actually spent, and so there is no consumer surplus there. He was not willing to spend any more on that third bowl of pasta, and so his consumer surplus is $6 when the price per serving is $6. And we can show this graphically. Okay, so I've gone ahead and plotted, a graphical representation of Ari's willingness to pay for pasta per serving. And so here we have that, the problem in part B was to calculate the difference between a price per serving, the consumer surplus, when the price per serving was $4 and then when it was 6. So I'm going to now just draw those two lines. So one case was when the price per serving was $4, so I'll just make that a line that looks like that, and I really wanted that to be, there we go. And then I will draw another one at $6. Okay, well, we know that the consumer surplus for the case when the price per serving was $4 would have been the entire region sort of above that first line. And then we know that the consumer surplus, just do it in a different color, the consumer surplus for the case when the price per serving is $6 would have been this area above the line. So the difference between them will be the area where there is some shading for one case and not the other, and that happens to be in this area right here. So this is the area we need to calculate the area of. And so if I go ahead and do that, I have that this is 1 and that is 2. So this area is 2. Sorry, you can't see that. Let me see if I can put that in black. Okay, that's a little bit sort of better. And then let's see, that's 1 and that's 2. Okay, and then that's 1 and this is 2. So if I add those up, I'm sorry, that really is not easy to see at all. So let's see, 2, 2, 2. Sorry, it's not the best. Anyway, so we add them up, and what do we have? 2 plus 2 plus 2 gives us 6. And don't you know that the difference between these is 6? So we can show this graphically or just do it algebraically.